Om Namah Shivaya, and I hope you're all doing well, students. Welcome back. This is just a very short introduction to classification systems. So what does it actually mean to classify something? Well, as you see here on the slide, it means that we try to put things in some kind of an order, arrange and organize things, and often this is done based upon their similarities and their differences. Almost everything in life, we have some kind of a classification system. So I want to show you a couple of examples before we get into mental disorders. So one example is all of life on Earth has its own major kind of a classification system. Let's look. All of life on Earth has actually been classified into 5 broad overarching groups. And so these groups are plants, animals, fungi, monera or bacteria, protista or microorganisms. Now, this is only the broad level. If you take any one of these, each one has another set, actually many sets of classification systems. Let's look at an example. Let's take plants. Did you know that there are more than 400,000 different types of plants on Earth? And that's an awful lot of plants to try to put into some kind of systematic structure or order, but people have done it. There are 4 major divisions of plants, and then beneath those divisions, it gets more and more complex with other classification systems. But the 4 major divisions are, as you see here, mosses and liverworts. These are unique because they have no proper root system. They're the only plants with no proper root system. And then you have ferns, which have proper root systems, and they also produce spores. The third category is coniferous trees. They have root systems, they produce spores, and they have needle-shaped leaves and cones, so that makes them unique and different from other plants. Flowering plants is the last category. They have all sorts of different types of leaves, and they have root systems, produce spores, and they're incredibly beautiful. Now, let's just take a look at these and you can see the differences between them. Here you see different types of mosses and liverworts. You see they grow very close to the ground, and they're very beautiful and lush and green. Sometimes they will have a bluish hue, and this is one example of these. They can grow in different places, but again, always close to whatever it is they're holding on to. And you can see here, they can grow on old wood, they can grow on big stones and rocks, and you often see them around the base of a tree or near running water, near springs. Now here you see an example of different types of ferns. Of course, there are many different types of ferns. This is just a few examples. They're very beautiful. They're each unique, and yet they also have similarities, as you see. They can get quite large, but they usually don't get as large as, say, like a tree. And ferns don't usually have flowers. Now here's an example of conifer trees. Some of them grow like the one you see here, sort of in like a triangle shape, but not all. These are called spruce trees. And they have different colors sometimes, like the bluish one on the bottom right of this slide. And they bear cones, as you see in the upper right. And those cones hold the seeds of the tree. Now here's a mental health part about nature. Did you know that nature and scenes like this beautiful conifer forest, can actually improve mental health and diminish depression? It's true. Research has shown this. So it's nice that you have a chance to take a look at beautiful scenes of nature. And finally, let's take a look at some examples of that 4th category of plants, which is, of course, flowers. They come in all different sizes, all different shapes, all different colors, all different textures. Here's two examples of two very unique and beautiful flowers. A yellow rose on the left, and I don't really know what the name is of the one to the right. Have any of you ever had the chance to see a sunflower? Sunflowers also grow in all different sizes. Some grow maybe just 12 inches from the ground, and some can grow 6 feet tall and even taller. One very unique thing about a sunflower, and the reason they're probably called a sunflower, is that the face of a sunflower, which is what you're looking at now, is always facing and following the sun. So as the sun moves across the sky, the face of the sunflower also moves and stays watching the sun. It's an amazing thing. But that's why you see this field where all the sunflowers are facing the same direction. And here's just a nice scene of a wild field in the mountains of wildflowers. They're also very amazing. Now let's take one more quick example of a classification system. Let's look at food. Here are two rather basic classification systems. There are more. The one on the left is very, very basic. It only tells you the type of food. Vegetables and legumes, fruits, dairy, meat, grains, and cereals. And the one on the right, which is an Ayurveda system, although it has only 3 categories, look how much more information it gives you. One classification, one category is called dosha shamak, which consists of the types of foods that pacify the dosha, that balances the systems of the body. These foods are very good for you. The next category is dhatu pradushak. And these are foods that are not so good for you. They're contaminating the vital tissues. They're difficult to digest, and you want to avoid them. And the last category is swasya hitakarak. These are highly beneficial foods. Things like ghee and honey, of course, always taken in the right proportion. What I want you to see about this is how much more sophisticated the classification system to the right is, the Ayurveda system, because it's not just a name of a type of food, it is telling you the interaction of food with the body, how food interacts, different types of food with the body, and how they impact health. So it's a much more informative system. It's a much more meaningful system. And this is what we're looking for with the classification system of mental disorders.